Back to Kyalami, the Grand Prix of Entertainment. It's Superstars weekend and race 2 about to get underway. The big V8 Superstar cars making their way back out onto the circuit with some very tricky conditions. You can see just in the background there, we've had a sunny day almost the entire day here. But as always, in summertime and on the Highveld, the thunderstorm is brewing and it's only about 4 or 5 Ks away. So there's a good possibility that the weather is going to play havoc here in the second heat of Superstars at Kyalami. My name is Greg Maloney. Joining me in the commentary booth is Steve Bishop. Stevie, we're in for a great second race, bud.
Well, if the first one is anything to go by, there's no doubt about it in my mind. But, I mean, this is just an added dimension, really. The weather comes into play. We're talking about thrills and spills because we know what it was like last week when we were here in South Africa at Kyalami. There was a particular regional race going on. This thunderstorm came out of nowhere. It caused absolute havoc, and we're already hearing the spikes of the electricity, the thunder and the lightning, and we look into our screen right now.
Yeah, look at that, dark, just in the background there, over Midrand at the moment, pouring with rain. However, heading up towards West Bank corner, clear as daylight. So you may even have a situation like we had at the 9 Hour last weekend, where you have one section full pouring with rain and another section bone dry. Very tricky conditions. These guys are not going to be used to this. They're used to rain. They're coming from Europe, remember, and almost, I think, 75% of the races that they've done this season have had a wet race of some nature, whether it was both races or just the one of the two that they do at each of the circuits they visited so far. Remember, this is the first time they've gone out of European soil and come on an international spectacle.
Well, I like to call it the comfort zone, really, because when you're in Europe, you're used to the conditions, you're used to the temperatures as well. Here in South Africa, high altitude, very, very different. And of course, I don't think that you quite get as ugly a storm as you do here on the Highveld in South Africa. It's renowned and well known throughout the globe that in Johannesburg, South Africa, we get the most lightning on the planet.
There is indeed, and just having a look down on pit lane now, not on the screen at the moment. Fortunately, our commentary booth is right above the main pit lane area, and you can see both Audis peeling off into the pit lane, and there's a good possibility that they've got radio confirmation that the wet race board has been put out. So the wet race board has been put out, which means that it has been declared a wet race. It is now up to the drivers and the teams to make the call whether they start on slicks or start on wet weather tires. If it does rain and the guys are out there on slicks, that means they have to come in and change tires. If you start the race on wet weather tires, you might not have the grip, you might not have the drive on those tires because they are purely for wet weather racing, but you might stand a chance of taking the gamble and winning out with the weather conditions that are due.
Well, Greg, it just adds another complete dimension to this race, and we talk about the fact that this is a 25-minute plus 1 lap race. Okay, there's no tire changes, there's no pit stops, whatever. All of a sudden now, this becomes a strategy.
It is. It forms a major part of their strategy. Remember that the other part of their strategy that they have to take into account is the fact that we have gone to a reversed grid. So the reverse grid, and there's actually been a revision to that reverse grid too. So it looks like it is going to be some fun and games. The Maserati makes its way out onto the track now, and that is the only Quattroporte machine out there, the Maserati Quattroporte. And of course, this is Superstars at Kyalami, brought to you by the Gauteng Provincial Government and Kyalami Grand Prix of Entertainment. Here on your World of Champions Supersport, we're looking forward to a great second race. And as you can see, the grid girls are lined up in their positions, and some of the cars have not taken to the circuit just yet. It is a rolling start, so they can peel into the pits, get those wet weather tires on, and if they can get the wet weather tires on and start from pit lane, they can resume their positions where they should be on the grid right now. But as you can see, a bit of pandemonium being thrown in here due to the fact that we have got a big Highveld thunderstorm about to hit you. There you can see it in the background. The two Audis have got their wet weather tires on. They're now making their way around back onto the grid, which means that Luca Rangoni will resume his position on pole. But I can see that Gadina has actually dropped back to 4th when he's supposed to be on 2nd according to our paperwork. Let's wait and see when we get the official grid that comes up on our screens. There's the Jaguar. What a magnificent looking car. I actually got to drive one of those last weekend.
Did you really?
It is an awesome machine. 500 horsepower on the standard road going vehicle, and that's the racing vehicle, so it really is going to have a turn of pace. Unfortunately, still a lot of development being done on that car because of it being brand new.
And I would imagine you would have driven a right-hand sided
Yes indeed, yes indeed. Actually from Colin Lazarus Jaguar in Pretoria actually gave it as the official pace car for the last weekend's event, and what a magnificent machine to drive, really spectacular. But looking at things happening out on the grid there, Steve, Lots of running around. Mauro Cesari's car coming to take up its position. That's one of the Carl racing machines. He was involved right at the front and eventually ended up in third place in the first heat due to the fact that we had lots of incidents on that final lap. Pierluigi Martini in the Chrysler running wide, and Gianni Morbidelli, the champion, having some problems, having a little coming together with Cesari. Then the Audi, of course, getting involved in some action too. But right the way through these fields, it is going to be some fun and games. Rangoni is going to take up second place on the grid. So there is definitely a change here in the way things that we've been given it, according to the pits beg your pardon, the grid allocation. David Baldy is going to take up pole position.
Well, I would imagine that they're all feeling quite nervous at the moment. I mean, looking up into the sky, we've just seen some beautiful shots just above West Bank and looking across to Kyalami. It can get very ugly here indeed, but just looking at Calderola, Nico Calderola in car number 33. Of course, what I am going to be doing is giving out the numbers a little bit later on so that some of our spectators can actually hear and see which cars are going through this racetrack, because unfortunately this is a new racing series, Greg, and of course we're not commonly known, the drivers here in South Africa. Back to you.
Confirmation of that race grid. There you can see David Baldi and Luca Rangoni in the Audi 1 and 2, Christian Gadina and Gianni Morbidelli in the BMWs 3 and 4. Then at the Chrysler of Pierluigi Martini. The third place man is Mauro Cesari. He is in sixth place on the grid. Second place in race 1, Christian Montanari, now up into 7th place. And our leader and winner, basically not betted at all in race number 1, Fabrizio Armetta in the Chevrolet Lumina, is up into 8th place. Then it's Francesco Ascani in the BMW. And then, of course, as they finished in race 1, that's how they'll line up after the top 8, because they only invert the top 8 positions here in Superstars. So there you can see in the background, Steve, the wind is starting to close. Look at the flags on top of the pit building opposite us. The wind is definitely changing. The rain is coming from Midrand side of town, and I think we're going to have a little bit of wetness here very shortly.
The one thing I know for sure about what's happening at this racetrack is that we've got a lot of potential weathermen who would fail dismally at that job. Because I asked the clerk of the course, I looked over the sky and I said to Pete Swanepoel, I said, looking up here, Pete, what do you think? He said, there's no way. It's not going to happen. And I'm thinking, okay.
As always. Yeah, as you say, the weatherman, but look at that. You can see the Rain-X being put onto some of these windscreens to stop them from misting up, although these cars do run windscreen wipers, so you've got an opportunity of running in the wet weather conditions. As I said, they have had some wet races so far in the Italian Championship and in the International Series that they run as Superstars. It's part of the package that Flamini takes around the world. Remember, Flamini, the man and a group that owns World Superbikes. We saw them earlier on here at Kyalami this year. We're looking forward to seeing them come back in May 2010 here at Kyalami Grand Prix of Entertainment, but looking forward to the second race, more importantly here. David Baldi, I think this is his first pole position at the moment, so let's see whether or not he can put this all together and possibly capitalize on being on pole. But Luca Rangoni off the line is definitely going to be someone to watch out for. We actually picked up on him coming to the line, Steve. It looks like that Audi has gone with slicks for race number 2.
Now, can you see anywhere else on this grid line whether everybody has gone wet apart from him? I would imagine it's probably the right choice. But they're not used to South African conditions, and they might be looking up at the sky thinking, well, can we take a chance? Rangoni is.
He certainly is, but I don't know. I think they should have gone to some of the local racing drivers and said, listen, if it does rain here, what are the conditions that we can expect? I can tell you what they are going to expect. A river will start forming at turn 1. The fastest part of the circuit, you're going to see water pouring across that circuit, especially if this rainstorm hits us like the way it did last weekend. Into the S's, you're going to find massive puddles of water, and down through the sweep on the mine shaft, another area that can form some seriously dangerous conditions, particularly for 500 horsepower V8.
Well, this is another question I wanted to pose to you. We've got 10 BMWs out there. They're certainly lighter than the likes of the Chevy Lumina. Lighter cars, will they fare better in wetter conditions than the heavier cars, or vice versa?
I think what you need to take into account is not only the weight of the car, it's probably going to be where the car's drive comes from. Every single one of these cars, except for the 2 Audis, are rear-wheel drive. And rear-wheel drive, and I'm sure if I speak to people that have got rear-wheel drive cars in the rain, are not the easiest things to control. Front-wheel drive, a little bit easier to do. 4-wheel drive is the option if it gets wet. And man, it's looking like it's going to be. So looking good so far for these guys, and really fantastic stuff here at Superstars. And I can tell you something, the reverse grid option that we have here for the second race is definitely a way to go for motor racing. We've seen it a couple of times here in South Africa with various formulas. They've tried it internationally. They were even thinking about doing it in Formula 1 and MotoGP. So that shows that it is definitely the way to go. The 2-minute board is up, which means that the grid is going to be cleared. Our Brolly babes from Superstars are going to be moving off. And you can see that Luca Rangoni in the Audi Sport machine looks like he means business. That is the red rocket out in front. And can he be able to put that Audi and possibly take a victory here today? If it does rain, I'm putting my money onto the Audis, because the four-wheel drive quattro system that they have is definitely going to assist them.
What certainly has impressed me a lot here at Kyalami, particularly with this first race, is the excitement. The fans have certainly enjoyed it around this Kyalami racetrack in South Africa. And, of course, we have our own regional production car series in South Africa. A lot of the technology that is present in what we're seeing today, I hear rumors that we might possibly be heading in the same direction.
I think it's not a bad option, because it's kind of what Westbank V8 Supercars wanted to do when they went the V8 option, is to run a V8 touring car type field, although they've gone a little bit more than the touring car should have. But maybe what they need to do is get the two formulas together and get the minds thinking alike. This particular format of racing we saw in the first heat provides spectacle and big spectacle racing. That's the way to do it.
Certainly with the economics that is going on globally as well. I mean, you're still seeing, as we see today right now, we're seeing super manufacturers out there as well. So, yes, South Africa is very much car mad. But anyway, let's go back to the pictures.
These are the men that we need to try and beat today. This reason that, and this machine is run not only by the driver, he is also the team principal on this particular team. So Fabrizio Armetta, he was the man to beat in race number 1. Can we see him take 2 victories in a row? He's got to come from a long way back. And the MotorZone race car team have done an amazing job to get that car sorted out.
The other thing about him, bringing up his name as well, you know, you look at the driver standings on the listing, and they've had a series of this Italian motor racing as well. So he's so far down on the drivers' listings, but I mean, he's come out of nowhere. He's performing well. It's going to be exciting. He's got everything to do here, and I think he could do it.
That Chevrolet Lumina certainly has the grunt up here in the Highveld and the conditions that are being thrown at them. The wind is changing once again. The flags are waving down towards us. So it's a matter of time before the wetness hits Kyalami once again at an international race. Are we going to see these cars finish up? 25 minutes of racing to come your way any second now. We're under starters orders, as you can see. The Subaru Works Impreza, official pace car for Kyalami Marshals, will be leading these guys out. But it is a field of 17 V8 Superstars right on their tail. And oh man,
wow, that was close.
Yeah, that was right on me. I could feel that one right through the microphone. That lightning bolt just hit us. So yeah, if we do lose you folks, remember that we will be going back to our studio in Ramberg and the World of Champions, bringing you all this action. Big thanks to Supersport. Pierluigi Martini, can he get that Chrysler back through the field and up into position to possibly threaten for a race victory here as we look at some very tricky conditions as the cars pull off.
Bad lighting here just above our commentary box. All I want to say is, Mama, love you.
Sheepers, that was quite hectic, I must tell you. Went right through me, Steve. I'm glad you felt the same way, but right, we're on board with the Audi heading into turn 1. This is what it looks like inside an RS4 Audi Quattro at almost full tilt. These guys will just be getting those tires warmed up, getting them all ready to rock and roll. Every single one of them on Pirellis. Hopefully they've gone with the right option, because it was called a wet race, which means it's up to the drivers and teams to decide whether or not they go on dry, slick tires or on wet weather tires. Right now, I think every single one of them should be on slicks. And if it does come down to it, they may be in for some fun and games in pit lane. And of course, if anybody is down there in pit lane, watch out, because there is going to be some frantic action in pit lane if the weather changes.
This 4.220 kilometer course, as Greg intonated earlier on, it can be raining on one side and dry on the other. This is a huge gamble, because if it doesn't rain for the next, say, 4-5 laps, those tires are shredded.
That's exactly what happens, unfortunately. If you're on the wet weather option and you don't get any wetness into them, then you're just going to rip those tires up and you're going to have to make a change anyway. So my option as a team manager would be to run on slicks right now and then make a pit stop. I think that's what every single one of these team guys has done.
Or how about go left on wet and dry on the right?
Well, it's predominantly left-hand turn, so yeah, why not? It's not a bad option, Steve, that's for sure. Right, so run through the grid for you one more time there, folks. It's David Baldy who's on pole position in the BMW, and he, of course, is in the M5. It is Luca Rangoni in the RS4. He'll be coming through and looking good. And I must tell you that Audi looked good at the end of race number 1. Let's see if he can get it up there in race number 2. Christian Gadina is in the 550i. He is in 3rd place, and Gianni Morbidelli, our current champion in this category, is 4th place on the road and on the starting positions as we see them coming under the safety car conditions. The lights on the safety car would have gone out now, so it'll now be up to David Baldy to take the helm of the race and run them across the line to see whether or not it's going to be these guys who will be able to take this victory. Is it going to be Baldi? Are we going to see Rangoni down into turn 1? Or is Morbidelli going to bring Pierluigi Martini and, of course, Fabrizio Armetta and Cristiano Montanari up into the front end of this field? They're under starters orders now. This is the rolling start. Audi on the left-hand side, BMW on the right. We're on board with the Audi as they go through the final turn. Now we look up, back on board a little bit further back. This is the Zach Speed car, and of course, that is Pierluigi Martini in the Chrysler. They're side by side across the line. A good start there by the looks of things. And look at that, Montanari pulling out in the background. We're on board as they go down into turn number 1. Pierluigi Martini. Look at that, bumping and barging between the Audi and the BMWs. The BMW around the outside. That is Gadina. Gadina getting it sideways as he comes into turn number 2. The Audi of Rangoni all over the place, trying to take evasive action and keep those guys behind him. Montanari is all over the back end of Pierluigi Martini as they come into turn 3 and 4. What a frantic start. Braking markers, late on the braking markers, and lightning smoke coming up there.
David Baldi still in the lead. He's making it very, very difficult at the moment, but it's only a matter of time. And here comes the Chevy Lumina trying to go down the right-hand side, breaks off and taps off. He's got 25 minutes to do this, plus 1 lap. Anything can happen. It's a bun fight out there.
On board with Pierluigi Martini in the Chrysler. So the Chrysler up into 4th place, looking for a way past Christian Gadina. Gadina has multiple Olympic championships under his belt. Remember, he's a downhill skier who's now made the change as we go on board with Rangoni. Look at how he's fighting this RS4 up the hill, looking for a way past David Baldi. Baldi got a good start off the line. He didn't have to worry too much. Rangoni had to go defensive. He's now looking to go on the attack, but Baldi sees him up in a westbank corner, climbs on the brakes, runs wide, unfortunately, and then it's going to be an Audi hitting the front for the first time here in South Africa. Audi fans in the house. RS4 is in the front and is leading the Superstars event in race 2.
Impressive, that triple apex, as you say, went rock wide and he just snuck on the inside. He got the drive coming out into the right-hander, and look at him now.
Well, it was we got Max Pigoli in the middle there. He's in the Mercedes-Benz. He actually came into the pits, so he's going to probably be a lap down according to what I got information from. So Max Pigoli in the Mercedes-Benz, and it looks like it is actually not Max Pigoli. It's the 7 car of Fabrizio Gini who's in the pits. So it's not Max Pigoli, because there he is in the race at the moment, tucked in behind that Chevy Lumina. Audi is going to lead on lap 1. Coming across the line to complete the first lap, David Baldi under massive pressure there from Gadina, and we go on board once again with Martini heading into turn number 1, fastest part of the circuit, 250 k's an hour in these big V8 Superstars.
Absolutely brilliant, and of course no sign of the rain coming in at the moment. They've got to watch it, because if it lasts for 4 more laps, oh, brilliant, as he takes a very, very tight line on the inside. They've got to watch out, because if it doesn't rain in four laps from now, we're in serious trouble here.
Right in the background, check out the Maserati on the tailpiece there of Fabrizio Armetta. We're on board with the leader as he goes through Goodyear Corner. Look at how he's working. Fortunately, we've got 2 onboard cameras looking at the front and then looking at the driver at the same time. A little bit further back there, the battle continues between Gadina and Pierluigi Martini. A little tap between Martini. He gets the BMW sideways. Man, Gadina, oh, he's tapped him again. The low jack Chrysler takes out Gadini, and that's it. Thanks for coming. Montanari sneaks through, and so does Gianni Morbidelli. So Pierluigi Martini, well, they're going to be having a chat with that man, because he was not holding back whatsoever. Christian Gadina was on his outside. He tapped him on the way in, he tapped him on the way out, and then put him in the kiddie litter.
The only thing he didn't do was tap him on the shoulder.
Right into Westbank corner, check that out. The Chef Lumina has got ahead of the low jack Chrysler. Here we see a replay coming into Clubhouse corner. There he is, he's got the inside line, taps the back end, and unfortunately Gadina catches it there, but as he comes back on the power, bang! There you go, part 2 of the incident. And thanks for coming, Christian Gadina. Have a seat on the sideline, buddy.
28-year-old driver Christian Montanari, watch out for them. He's still in the BMW circulating. He's just moved up to 5th position in car number 22.
He has indeed. That's him in shot at the moment. Right on his tail is Gianni Morbidelli, the champion, triple champion in this particular category, as they come into the final corner. Vodacom corner, coming out of Vodacom. The Audi still leads. Second place is David Baldi. Christian Gadina is no longer there. It is now Christian Montanari. So the 2 Christians swapping places there. Just behind them comes race number 1 winner, Fabrizio Armetta, in the Chevrolet Lumina. Now remember, the other thing you need to take into account for this particular category is that they finished 1, 2, and 3 in race number 1. They also would have been given some weight penalties to ensure that the racing is free and fair and gives everybody a chance of taking victories.
Well, we heard about that whole handicap in the Italian series in Italy, and of course we were confirmed that it wasn't going to be happening here, but that's not the case anymore.
No, it is definitely happening out here, and you can see that the Chevrolet hasn't got the same amount of grunt as it had in the first one, trying to close down on Gianni Morbidelli. They're going to resume their little battle that they had at the end of race 1. Morbidelli, Montanari, and Armetta with the battle for the race victory, 2nd and 3rd place. Eventually it was Cesari who came through to take some of the victories away and the spoils of the day, but this Audi is just pulling away from the rest of the field, and David Baldi is actually acting as the blocker for the Audi team. He's slowing everybody up. Baldi's last lap was a 51.7. The guys behind him are doing 51.4s. So the blocker on the circuit at the moment is David Baldi, and these guys need to get past him, otherwise they're never going to catch this Audi Sport machine out in front.
Race leader through the apex of West Bank, and of course getting some great drive onto the straight. He'll go into the mine sweep, and of course who's trying to go down the outside of that? I think it was Fabrizio Armetta in the Chevrolet.
Yeah, he's looking for a way past, and he's now caught onto the back end of those BMWs, and he'd like to get ahead of them because it seems like the man in 2nd place is definitely doing a blocking role. Fabrizio Armetta, well, there you see Baldi runs wide. Christian Montanari looking for a way out the inside here. This is 2nd and 3rd. BMWs in 2nd and 3rd and in 4th place. Then we've got the Chevy Lumina just in the background there picking up. Oh, Montanari under pressure from Gianni Morbidelli into final corner. He had to take very, very evasive action, slammed the door shut in Morbidelli's face, and that could have cost him dearly.
About 4 laps we're into at the moment, and of course I'm starting to get a bit nervous for these drivers because there's still no sign of any rain. Into the fastest part of the circuit, and still a race leader, Lucas Rangoni in the Audi, driving a brilliant race at the moment. David Baldi hasn't got an answer and a prayer, him being the blocker, as Greg said. Christian Montanari is on a charge. There is a 2-second gap at the moment.
Certainly is. It's M3 battle at the front end of this field and taking on that M5 as he moves across. Actually, Montanari giving a little bit more pressure than David Baldi. Baldi slowing down slightly. Montanari going to go up the inside into Goodyear corner. At the same time, Gianni Morbidelli being outdone by the Chevrolet Lumina. So the Chevy Lumina sneaks up. Armetta is up into 4th place. Morbidelli has slowed down and he's going to go into 3rd into Legends corner. He sneaks up the inside. What a maneuver. The Chevy Lumina is into 3rd place. Armetta is not holding back, but it's now time to turn the wick up.
Sandro Bettini in the BMW is currently at 11th. It's just come into the pits. You might have missed Pagoli, who wasn't circulating. The reason is he's also in the pit. So whether those are tyre changes right now or a forced tyre change, as I said, the temperatures could be heating up those
there's Pagoli there, so I don't think it's Pagoli who's in the pits. The Mercedes-Benz is there.
Oh,
he's still
Ascani. It's Ascani.
6th place, so it is Ascani who went into the pits.
Per Liga
Right, so
Martinez.
looking good so far for the Mercedes-Benz. There he comes flying out of West Bank corner, just in the background there. It's the blue nose cone on the silver arrows, and he comes here into our sights just behind him. It looks like that is Cesari, then Papini. Papini is the man who is challenging for 2nd place in this championship. We're on board with the Mercedes-Benz, so it's definitely not in the pits. Here we go into the bowl, and coming out of the bowl now, climbing on the accelerator. Listen to that AMG machinery flying down the little straight into turn 13. This is a very tricky corner. If you get it wrong, you can end up in the buildings on the left-hand side. Late onto the brakes into Vodacom corner. Mercedes-Benz of Maximiliano Pigoli looking very good as they come across the line and complete another lap. It is still Rangoni, but check out the Chevy Lumina. He is all over the back of Montanari, and I think Christian Montanari is now going to have his hands full of a Chevy Lumina. Roles reversed from race 1.
Absolutely. Francesco Ascani, 55-year-old teammate to Morbidelli in the Roll Motorsport BMW M3. Looks like he's got a problem. He's in the pits. I've got the bonnet up. It could be engine trouble.
Well, that's a bit of a pity for him, but don't worry about what's happening in the pits, because right now the action is thick and fast down towards Goodyear corner. Montanari having a ding-dong at the moment with Armetta, and as we go on board once again with Rangoni, he runs a little bit wide coming out of Goodyear, down the gearbox into 2nd gear by the looks of things, and now into Legends corner. He'll climb on the accelerator. The V8 RS4 absolutely flying down the little straightaway. It's 400 meters and then a little bit off the accelerator, keeping it all the way through there in 3rd gear. Look at the Chevy though, all over the back of Montanari. Montanari once passed. Well, he's passed at the moment, but Armetta is the man who is looking to get past him and move up to catch that Audi. I think the Chevy probably is the only man who can catch up with that Audi at the moment.
Car number 52, I could have sworn I saw David Baldi scratching his head. What do I have to do in this BMW to get it shifting? He's in 5th place at the moment. Gio Morbidelli in the BMW is up to 4th.
Martini in the pit lane. There you can see him. The 23 car is parked in pit lane. We're on board looking at the man in front of him, so it looks like it is Martini who's out in
Francesco Ascani as well.
And it's Ascani parked in the pit lane. That's a big pity.
Don't worry about the pits.
Chrysler is out. So it looks as if there's action aplenty in the pit lane, but plenty more action out on the track. That's more important to watch out for as we go into about 15 minutes of this race to go. 10 minutes gone. Oh, somebody ran wide there. That could have been the Audi. It can only be the Audi because that's the only car in front of these two cars. So if that is the case, the Audi is starting to feel the pressure, although he's got a comfortable margin of about 4 seconds. Here comes the Chevy Lumina. Can he find a way past? The M3 of Montanari is working hard, and the Habitat Racing Machine taking on MotorZone race car. Right now, that Chevy Lumina looks like it's just a matter of time before he finds a way past that M3.
Into turn 3, Christian Montanari in the BMW for Fabrizio Almeida is closing that gap. He gets the drive down, and we spoke about it in the first race about the cornering speed of the BMWs, and of course the big Chevy has got the grunt down basically on the straights. Now here they come again. It's still Fabrizio Almeida very close to Christian Montanari in the BMW. On board with
Pigoli and Mercedes-Benz, looking for a way up the inside of David Baldi. Baldi just shuts the door firmly and says, no, you have to follow me through here, find another way past. They get onto the braking markers, heading into Clubhouse corner. Coming out of Clubhouse now on the accelerator once again. AMG versus 550i. The C63 AMG Mercedes-Benz of Pigoli. He's looking to be up there in the second and third place battle with Papini. And of course Papini right down in 8th place at the moment. So the roles are reversed in this particular heat because Pigoli didn't have a great race 1. He's having a superb race 2. And it's going to be really close on points between him and Papini for second place in this championship.
Maserati fans still disappointed. Andre Chisa is down into 10th. That is car number 46. The one in front of him is car number 3. That is the Audi, the Dionisio.
It's the second RS4 out there. We're on board with the first one, Rangoni. Oh, he's having some problems on that car. Those Pirellis are not loving the circuit at the moment. We did mention the fact that it's very abrasive on race tyres. He runs wide again. Oh, he's got it completely sideways. Can he keep it together? Quattro power.
Fantastic.
Thank goodness he had four-wheel drive there. Otherwise, he would have been in some serious problems. If he climbed on the power there on a rear-wheel drive car, that's exactly what would happen. Cesari has spun out. Are we getting a bit of wetness? I wonder if there's some rain coming down there. Doesn't look like it's on the pit wall.
There's a
might
replay.
be down
Look
there,
at that, how wide he goes.
Man, check that out. Awesome action. The Red Rocket absolutely sideways and just keeps it buried through there. When in doubt, pin it, man. That's exactly what I would do.
No pressure whatsoever for Luca Rangoni. It'll be terrible for him to throw it away like this.
Gary, I'm just Steve, I'm looking at the rain coming down. There is wetness on the circuit, so we are going to be seeing some possible pit changes here and pit stops. We have got some wetness out there. I thought I saw it earlier on when the guy started to spin out, but I wasn't 100% sure. Now I am. Down at turn 1, 2, and 3, there is definitely some rain. Here, it's dry. As we said, change of conditions on both sides of the circuit. Up at West Bank, here at Clubhouse, not a drop. Down in turn 1, 2, and 3, and on the main straight, it is starting to get wet.
No, it's starting to get wet now. Has the damage already been done on the wet tyres in dry conditions?
No, none of these guys will be on wet now, I can tell you right now. Not with the pace that they're running. These guys are all on slick tyres. And that's exactly what I said they would do from the start. Even though it was declared a wet race, it's now up to the team to decide, right, do we bring them in now, change it, or do we wait for the rain to actually start coming down in a big way? It's gambling time. This is where the gamble pays off. You either come in too early or you come in too late. And unfortunately, that is the sadness of this particular format of racing when a wet race is declared at the front end of a race.
Superstar Sunday broadcasting live from Kyalami, South Africa. This is just an absolute awesome spectacle at the moment. Some superb driving. Luca Rangoni in car number 4 is leading this race.
Hopefully he can use the Audi Quattro to better use in this corner than the last time he went through. There you go, that's the way to do it. Don't go onto the dirty stuff, keep it on the black stuff, and down in the gearbox into second gear, probably into first gear here for this big V8, and now into second as he comes across the line. So Rangoni still leads out. He was 2.8 seconds, nearly 3 seconds ahead of the second place BMW M3 of Christian Montanari, the Habitat machine. Then it is the MotorZone race car of Fabrizio Almeida in the Chevrolet Lumina. That's 1, 2, and 3 across the line. Rangoni, Montana, and Almeida. Then it's Gianni Morbidelli in the BMW M3. Massimo Pigoli in the Mercedes-Benz is up to 5th place. He has the rain. Check it out on the windscreen. Big thunderstorm drops coming onto that Audi. And these guys are now going to get a taste of what real rain is.
All right, check out this little replay.
Up on the inside, looks that is the 54 car. That is Cesari going to be spinning out. Yeah, he gets it completely sideways. Good driving from Pigoli. Man, he nearly got taken out by Cesari. He had to go on the inside and just missed the BMW spinning in front of him. That's one of the Cole racing machines. And wow, great driving from Massimilio Pigoli. for hanging on to that and not going onto the side of that BMW.
David Baldy was also very lucky there because he almost got clipped by the rear, but anyway, he got through that. Still in 6th position. He's in car number 52 in that BMW.
Now, as I said a bit earlier, this is where the RS4 Quattro is going to come into play. Is he going to be able to keep it together? Four-wheel drive is going to be a major option here for him. You can see even he's battling in conditions. So it's very tricky at the moment. Do you come in? Do you stay out? We've got 10.5 minutes of racing to go. The rain did start to come down at turn 1, 2, and 3. But here you can see at the back end of the circuit, there is no rain falling. So it is going to be a bit of a gamble if you come in too early.
No change in the middle of the pack, and I know we're watching the leaders, or in fact we're back into the middle of the pack as well. Dioniso in the Audi, of course the Jaguar is thereabouts in 11th in car number 2. 56 is Sandro Bettini. No changes in there. All the action is up in the front.
We're actually picking up on Mauro Cesari, the man who got 3rd place in the first heat, coming back through the field after that big spin in the bowl. He's heading back to the bowl. He's going to go up the inside of Frankie Decconi. Frankie Decconi, unfortunately, no answer in the Jaguar. Cesari in the 550i, coming up on his teammate. And his teammate in the 56 car, Sandro Bettini, I think it's going to be a matter of time before he just moves out the way and allows Cesari through, or will he? There's probably no team orders in the car racing squad, so if there aren't any team orders, it's every man for himself, and the red wing mirrors of that 550i are going to have to try and get past the green ones on the 550i in front of him, and that is Sandro Bettini.
Well, Cesari is not going to really want to put a foot wrong, but this is his first year of Superstars. He's currently 7th in the BMW 550i, not on this race at the moment, but obviously in the championship. But he's doing a fine job. I don't think he wants to annoy too many people in his first year.
Well, they come out of the fastest part of the circuit, and that's where the rain was coming down. Although it came down for about 2 or 3 seconds, it's now stopped. It doesn't look like it's raining down there at all. Well, I'm just looking on the outside. There is still a little bit of drops coming down. Back on board with our leader. He's going into the S's. You can see that Rangoni is just loving life at the moment in this RS4. The Italia Audi machine absolutely perfectly set up for the conditions. And as I said, with these kind of tricky conditions, this is where he needs to be, at the front end of the field and leading out in that number 4 Audi Quattro.
He gets through Westbank really, really smooth. It's a triple apex. Of course, he sets himself up really nicely for the minesweep, but look at the gap that he's pulling away. Of course, he's not too far off what he was doing in the last first race, in fact. A 151.362. His best, Greg, a 151.54.
Yeah, that would have been earlier on in the race when the tricky conditions weren't around. They're coming out of the bowl once again, heading up towards turn 13. 2 corners to go for this lap, and it is Luca Rangoni who's going to lead out still in the RS4. Looks like changes into 2nd place, as we said. Fabrizio Armetta has got ahead of Montanari. Montanari now pulling away from Gianni Morbidelli, who's in 4th place. So it is once again at the front end, Chevrolet versus BMW. Can they catch this Audi RS4? And if they can, are they able to pass him?
Well, the one thing this inverted grid has done, it's made it some exciting racing. Plus, with the strategy and, of course, the rain coming into play, it's anybody's guess. There's still a long way to go for this race to be finished, plus one more lap after the 25 minutes. But still, Luca Rangoni, a master in control.
So far, so good for the Red Rocket at the front end, and the Chevrolet Lumina up in his 2nd place. So the man who owns the team and runs the team and is also the driver, he's sitting in 2nd place. Looking back, and you can see the windscreen wiper going on in that car just to make sure that the windscreen is clean going into Sunset Corner. Now Goodyear, as we like to call it, right on his tail is Christian Montanari. Montanari in 3rd place, the BMW M3. He was battling for possible victory, and it looks like it's going to be the roll resumed here if they can catch that RS4 Quattro in front of them. He's got about half the straightaway between Legends and Clubhouse, and into the S's here between himself and this Chevrolet Lumina. This is a magnificent machine. They come through there, you can just hear the thundering V8 coming through. Cesari's got ahead of Bettini. So there you can see Bettini now under pressure from Frankie Decconi in the Jaguar. The Maserati runs wide. Oh, Chiesa all over the place. And that Quattroporte was put under massive pressure there from Mauro Cesari. Cesari now moving up into what would probably be 8th place.
Guile and experience, that's all I can say, Greg. How he kept that on the tarmac is it's impressive, that's all I can say.
It certainly can. I must say that Andre de Kock came and had a chat with us in between the races, and he said he couldn't believe how Pierluigi Martini held that big 300C when he lost control of it at the bottom of the mine shaft. Not many drivers can do that, but you can see that is the kind of experience that these superstars drivers have got, and they're putting it to big use here at Kyalami.
Car number 58, Roberto Papini in that BMW 5, still circulating. That is 58 in 8th position, still way down there. He doesn't seem to be able to make any headway. Dionisio in front of him, David Baldi, Pagoli, Massimo is in 5th. Back to the leaders.
Yeah, Yeah, so 1, 2, and 3 across the line and complete another lap. This is their 10th lap completed. There is 6.5 or 6 minutes and 15 seconds to go in this race. So still a long way of action to go. So probably looking at about 4 or 5 laps to go in this race still. And that's enough time for them to catch that 3.5 second gap. That is between first place Audi of Rangoni and second place the Chevrolet Lumina of Fabrizio Armetta. Cristiano Montanari sitting in third place and just praying that Armetta takes him up to that Audi.
All right, we've got a different flag out there. Surface conditions changing, I would imagine.
Change of surface flag probably came out a while ago due to the fact that the rain was coming down and up and down the whole time. So that's the reason that they're going to have that out there. The change of surface flag has been recalled though. So things happening all over the circuit, and it looks as if we're going to be in for some fun and games here at the end of the race, because this is Rangoni. He is heading up towards West Bank Corner at the moment in the lead Audi. The Chevrolet Lumina is under massive pressure. Montanari wants fast. He's coming under the braking markers into West Bank Corner. Looks for a way up the inside. Oh, the Chevy just shuts the door. You're not coming through here. He runs a little bit wide. Montanari gets a better drive out of West Bank. Can he use that drive to try and get ahead of the Chevrolet Lumina? They come out and flat out stuff down the mine shaft.
He didn't just shut that door, he slammed it tight. Lucas Rangoni still in control here. Fabrizio Armetta and the Chev. Christian Montanari in the BMW. It's very, very close racing here.
Lights ablaze. You can see that conditions have become even more tricky. The rain is coming down right in front of us here, Steve. In fact, it looks like we may be getting a bit of hail by the looks of things, because the raindrops are so big. That's what they look like. The windscreen wipers on both the cars going into the final corner. Look at how tricky it's into that corner. You can see how slippery it's going to get. Man, it's going to be fun and games. Look at the rain coming down on the main straightaway. We have got 4.5 minutes to go. It's now survival of the fittest. Who can drive in the rain on slicks?
And this is not just rain, this is very, very thick and heavy rain. This is what South Africa offers. These weather conditions are really penal.
Check out this action between the BMWs up the inside. Oh, teammates. What do you mean teammates? There is no teammates. Papini being forced wide there. Oh, what a great bit of driving there.
Was that Cesari?
Yeah, it was. Can you believe that? Cesari trying to go up the inside of Papini. Papini just slammed the door shut and said, no, man, you're not coming through here. There are no team orders. If you want to come through, you're going to have to work hard at it. And he ran wide. It is Papini still hanging on to what is 8th place on the road. Cesari there in 9th. And just behind him is the Maserati, and Chiesa sitting there going, man, these guys are not holding back. And they're teammates. I'm not getting involved in my Maserati and these guys.
He says the only way you're going to be sitting next to me is on the plane back to Italy.
Oh, can you imagine the conversation all the way back to Italy? Look at the rain coming down now. It's coming down a lot heavier than what we've seen so far, and hopefully it's not going to spoil the entertainment, because we've had a fantastic first race here at Superstars. So far, so good in the second race, and you can see that team orders are definitely not what takes place here at Superstars events. On board with Rangoni. You can see just how difficult things are becoming, because even the footage is being broken up by the thunderstorm in the background. And still no changes in 1, 2, and 3. Morbidelli still in 4th place, been very quiet. He's all on his own. Massimilio Pigoli in the Mercedes-Benz AMG 63 is still there in 5th, but he's about 14 seconds down on the leader. You might just get a glimpse of him coming into the background there as we see Gianni Morbidelli. The 0-1 on his car means he is the champion. He's also just been crowned new 2009 champion in Superstars. So that's 3 championships in a row. Oh, Montanari had a look. And he runs wide, and so does the Chevy. Late braking from the Chevrolet Lumina. Oh, Armetta gets it sideways out of the corner. Can you handle this? V8 action, thick and fast here at Kyalami.
Superstar Sunday into the fastest part of the circuit. And look at this drive that he's getting out of that. It's amazing. 22, Christian Montanari. Oh, the rain is coming down thick and furious.
Hello, rain. This is a thunderstorm from South Africa.
Welcome to South Africa.
Right, now, can these Pirellis take it for another 2.5 minutes and 1 lap? We are looking at, if it's 2.5 minutes, these guys lapping at, oh yeah, I was going to say,
red flag.
They must red flag this race. There's no way they can continue in these kind of conditions. I don't know if Rangoni's seen the red flag, because he's still flat out. Check it in through Goodyear. Absolutely pinned. And well, if he sees the red flag, I'm sure he's going to slow down, but he doesn't seem to be. The RS4 Quattro is working, and he's sitting there going, what do you want to red flag this for? I can drive in these conditions.
I can see.
Exactly.
What are you thinking?
Anyway, the red flag has come out, folks, which means that we will be reverting 1 race lap back, which will give the race victory to Luca Rangoni. Unofficially, of course, we wait for the official results to come up, but it is Rangoni who will be taking the victory as the rain comes down here in South Africa. And this is what it's all about, a thunderstorm of note. And And yes, it is the Audi who's taken a victory here in second. Rangoni is a happy man. You can see him punching there inside the cockpit. It is Fabrizio Armetta who's going to take second place in the Chevrolet Lumina. So 2 podiums for Armetta, 2 podiums for Cristian Montanari. He is going to be the man to finish up in third place. A great effort there from those guys. Superb action as we've seen so far. And Steve, I've got to say to you, if this is superstar racing, bring back some more, bud.
Absolutely agree with you. I mean, we've had some fantastic internationals come over to this country of late, and it really is a testament to the organisers, but to really bring a series like this. And yes, I understand the fact that it is predominantly a European sort of series, but I'll tell you what, there's no reason on earth that this shouldn't be part and parcel of their tour series.
Oh, we hope that they come back next year, because it is part of the package that we've done with World Superbikes, the Flamini Group getting involved with the Gauteng provincial government and Kyalami Grand Prix circuit. And they've brought World Superbikes. They've now brought superstars to South Africa. And the crowds here are now deciding, well, it's time to hit the road, because the rain is coming down, and it's coming down in a big way. So confirmation of those results, it is Luca Rangoni who is going to come around. Not quite sure why he hasn't peeled into pit lane. Maybe they're going to bring them onto the front row and make them line up in their position to give them a little bit of a rain out section. Yeah, because it is red flag, they need to come to the grid and form up once again, just in case they restart this race. But I don't think that's going to happen. And as they come around towards us once again, Rangoni will be the victor in race 2 of Superstars after 11 laps and some rain. Check that out.
Checkered flag. They're giving
checkered flag has been given to Rangoni. He's going to take the victory ahead of Fabrizio Armetta. Cristian Montanari will finish up in third place. Gianni Morbidelli will be in fourth place in the BMW M3. Massimiliano Pigoli in the Mercedes-Benz will be in fifth. And then Emano Dionisio in the second of the Audi RS4s. They're in sixth place. David Baldi, the pole man, he eventually finished down in seventh place. Roberto Papini, that should secure him second place in the championship for the international side of this series. And Mauro Cesari, our man who was in third in the first race, eventually down in ninth. Andrea Chiesa in the Maserati will finish up in 10th place. Great racing action here from Superstars.
Absolutely fantastic. Once again, it's a pity about the weather, but it was only about 1 minute 56 to go, plus another lap, which should have been about another 150. So all in all, probably about 3 minutes. And I don't know what the helicopter's doing on our screen. I wouldn't want to be up there with all this lightning and weather going on.
No, definitely not up there at the moment. That's not what you want to be doing in a lightning storm of this kind of nature. But Superstars have now made their way to South Africa. It's their first international experience, and I'm sure that they're going to be very happy with the support that they got here from Kyalami and, of course, from their World of Champions Supersport. Bringing you all this action live from Kyalami. You've enjoyed this footage, because it really has been great action. There you can see some of the battle-scarred machines making their way back to the pits. That is Gadina after his little coming together with Pierluigi Martini's Chrysler 300C SRT8. So as the race cars make their way back to the pits, it's a matter of time now before we get to the second podium ceremony. And as you can see, some of these cars going back a little bit worse for wears. But every single one of these drivers will be happy with the performance of their cars. No major incidents other than that one between Gadina and Pierluigi Martini. See the Jaguar in the background had finished up, so some more development on that car. Look forward to seeing some more of those cars in action in the 2010 series. And of course the Maserati of Chiesa will also be joined by a couple more of those in the 2010 championship. So at the moment, as we wait for the cars to come around and take up their positions back into pit lane, the checkered flag did come out on that last lap, and it is going to be a really happy Luca Rangoni who's going to climb out of his RS4 and take. This is his first victory, if I'm not mistaken, Steve. So that's a good effort from the Audi Sport team. Going to be happy with that performance, there's no doubt. Pigoli finishing up nicely in the Mercedes-Benz, a lot higher than what he did in the first heat. So another great day in the saddle for that man. And hopefully he'll be back and racing in his AMG 63 next season. A couple of Mercedes-Benz going to be coming to join him, I'm sure, as well, as this series of Superstars grows bigger and better in 2010. And really, I think from South Africa's point of view, the guys that were here were entertained by some of the best V8 racing we've seen here for a long, long time, other than our own V8 series. Of course, we put on an awesome spectacle every time they go out. It's great to see some international drivers and some really spectacular racing, as you can see bits and pieces being pulled off the circuit.
I think that belongs to Gadina, Christian Gadina in car number 69, wasn't it?
Yes, indeed. That is Christian Gadina's front bumper. So that's been pulled off, and that was courtesy of Mr. Pierluigi Martini. But there's our race winner. Rangoni is the man who's going to take the victory. And you can see he's a happy camper, and so is his team.
Well, one could be said that, you know, he had an advantage with the inverted grid, but at the end of the day, he still had to drive himself through to win this. And was it the Audi Quattro with their four-wheel drive that really helped in the conditions? And one can only speculate, but still a stunning drive here, and in probably the worst conditions you can imagine, because whenever it rains down here, it does rain heavy, and that does not bode well for good motor racing, which is why we had
There's confirmation of the results for you, Steve. Luca Rangoni in the Audi taking the victory ahead of Fabrizio Armetta. Christian Montana in third place. Gianni Morbidelli there in fourth place. BMW's 3 and 4. Mercedes-Benz of Massimo Pigoli in fifth place. Armando Dionisio in the Audi there in sixth place. David Baldi in seventh. Roberto Pepini in 8th place, and Mauro Cesari there in 9th place, and that of course will bring them up into the 2nd and 3rd place positions in their championship. That is the race car that has taken the victory today in race 2 here at Superstars of Kyalami, and once again a great effort from the Audi team. I'm going to head across down to the podium and leave you in the capable hands of Steve Bishop, from myself, Greg Maloney, and the world of Supersport. We hope that you've enjoyed yourselves. I'll catch you guys a bit later.
Well done, Greg. And while he hops out and makes his way to the podium to give out some well-deserved trophies, one can look back and reflect, and hopefully we'll have some highlights of what went on in race 2. There certainly were some special moments, and certainly what was impressive about this Superstars second race, that is the way that the drivers came to terms with the tricky conditions. Kyalami, in terms of a racetrack, is always quite demanding, and even more so once we get into rain-affected races like we have experienced today. It's just one of those things that happens in South Africa during this time of the year, and I was always getting some pictures as to what was going to happen in terms of highlights. But there we see the full-on front picture of our podium. And of course, we'll be getting the drivers up there very, very shortly to hand out those prizes. It's been a wonderful day's racing. I certainly can tell you that around the racetrack, all around Kyalami, we had good support, pretty much short notice for a lot of people, but nice to see them come out in their droves to witness. The one thing about South African fans is that we do have very, very passionate motorsport fans here in this country in all sorts of categories, from two-wheelers to our regional races. But when we get into nationals, we seem to get a flood of fanatics that come out. I know a lot of people were disappointed this weekend by not getting up to Johannesburg, but unfortunately here in this country at this moment in time, we've got some public holidays and people tend to get away, and unfortunately just the timing. So a wonderful spectacle. Superstar Sunday almost comes to a closure, and of course I've thoroughly enjoyed commentating this race for you with Greg Maloney. It's been a wonderful day's racing. Big thunder. We call our V8s here in this country the rolling thunder, and by virtue of the fact that you hear these massive V8 plants moving around Kyalami at incredible speeds, and just having a look at some of the best lap times that from Luca Rangoni. His best lap time in the second race, of course, has been red flagged with only about 1:50 to go, so not too much damage done. But it was a huge gamble for a lot of them because they declared it a wet race in the very beginning. Therein lies the strategic aspect of it. Do we put wet tires on, or do we stay with the dry? A lot of them, in fact, almost all of them, went with the dry tires, and that obviously paid handsome dividends, because when the race did come down, I think the clerk of the course realized that a lot of those drivers were on those dry tires and felt that there would have been a certain amount of danger. Looking at our podium at the moment. I don't know if you can hear the sound at the moment coming from our podium. Let's just check out. And I'm wondering whether we're going to get an anthem here.
For the national anthem for Luca Rangoni.
My co-commentator Greg Maloney is on the podium at the moment, dishing out these prizes to our top 3. So far, confirmed results, and of course that will flash up on your screens very shortly, and hopefully a full highlights package will come into effect so that you can get some of the highlights if you did miss them for the second race of Superstar Sunday. But the youngest driver out of all of them was Christian Montanari. Here's the national anthem.
So thank you once again to our top three drivers there. Ending our third position, Mr. Dennis Klopper, the General Manager of Kyalami Grand Prix Circuit. And that goes to the Habitat Racing Machine of Christian Montanari.
So certainly well done, Christian.
Second place
Montanari.
being handed up by Mr. Francois Pretorius, the MD of Motorsports South Africa. That goes to Fabrizio Armetta. And top of the podium, and a very, very happy driver driving for the Audi Sport Italia team. And his prize will be given out by Mr. Vivian Natassen, the CEO of Enio Africa. Let's hear it for Luca Rangoni.
So there we have it, the confirmed results for the second race in this Sunday Superstar Series. Luca Rangoni, well driven in an Audi. Best time of 150.154. They got up to an average speed of around about 137.92. It doesn't seem fast in the great scheme of things, but it's a very demanding Kyalami racetrack. In second position, Fabrizio Armetta, the Chevrolet Lumina CR8. In his first appearance at Kyalami, he was second in the Superstars in 2005. Then he was driving a BMW M5 and has previously competed in Formula Ford, Formula 3, International GT, and an Italian GT racing, also in a Lamborghini Gallardo. So a very, very composite and confident driver. Hopefully we're getting some highlights coming into your screen. Give you an indication of some of the highlights, and here they go. Highlights of the second race here at Kyalami.
Per restare davanti, attenzione qui, sbaglia Rangoni, entra di traverso, deve recuperare, allarga.
So some magnificent highlights coming to you from Kyalami. Looking at the final championship points, Gianni Morbidelli, BMW 123, Max Pagoli, the Mercedes in 80, and Mario Cesari, the BMW of 70, and in their fourth, Roberto Papini in the BMW 67. The Chevrolet Fabrizio Armetta doing really well and surprising a lot of people, because into the series he was probably quite far back in the championship, but all of a sudden found form. They got the car set up really right, and as you saw today, absolutely fantastic driving from Fabrizio Armetta. Well, that's our lot here from Kyalami, South Africa in the Superstar Series. On behalf of all the commentators.